Have you ever heard of Catch 22? According to Google's website, it is a dilemma of difficult circumstances for which there is no escape because mutually conflicting or dependent conditions. Being mentally ill is a catch 22. They say it gifts you with creativity. But where does that come from? Thinking outside of the box can sometimes twist and curl into something shunned or laughed at. Call it what you will, but acknowledge the fact that it exists and that it is important and should not be overlooked. No one is born perfect, though perfection does exist. I know because I suffer from it. Yes, I said suffer. When all you concentrate on is getting something in a certain state over and over, you, my dear, are insane. And I'm right there with you. So there's that. Welcome to all the new listeners from all over the world. I appreciate you being here with me. And to those who have returned, I wish you all welcome back. To those caregivers who love someone that is mentally ill, I want to give you inside information on what it's like to live with this disorder or any mental illness. I must warn you though, I am liable to tell the harsh truths. This includes cussing and talks of suicide, murder, and those things that keep people up at night. This is not for the easily offended or those who have triggers. Mentioned or not mentioned. This is your final warning. You ready? Here we go. My name is Janae, and this is my story. Loneliness is a sadness due to perceived lack of companionship, friendship, or social relationship. Have you ever heard someone say that you can be in a room full of people and still feel lonely? I always equate that to people who are celebrities or the socially awkward or popular people even. Why? Because if people use you to feel better about themselves, people who will not be there for the long run, well, who can you trust? Of course, this can happen to anyone regardless of personality, status, or money. But what equates loneliness? Being alone ain't it. I think adults should try and live by themselves at one point. It would do you well. But the difference between being alone and being lonely are two different things. We are human, ones that are expected to connect with others. If you are mentally ill, this is one side of a double blade in your back. But what can trigger your sadness? Well, the change of a job, or school, or living situation. Moving away from your familiar support, such as family, friends, or love interests. The end of a friendship or relationship. Losing someone close to you. And being diagnosed with an illness, whether mental or physical. According to ncbi.nlm.nih.gov, there are three types of loneliness. Situational, which deals with unpleasant experiences like personal conflicts, accident, and disaster. Developmental loneliness, which is developmental deficit, poverty, living arrangement, and physical or psychological disability. And finally, internal loneliness, which is a personality factor, loss of control, mental distress, low self-esteem, and poor coping strategies with situations. That was a lot. I think I've suffered from all of these types of loneliness, but you have to keep in mind that I've never actually lived on my own. I've never actually had a house to myself. My loneliness was basically lack of someone my age, because I've always lived with someone, and I think it's important that you do too. One physiological illness that I will mention is depression. Lonely people suffer from more depressive symptoms, and they reported to be less happy, less satisfied, and more pessimistic. I know that when I'm depressed, I can recognize that, bam, I need to take my medicine, because I sometimes forget to take them. I bet you're sitting there thinking, depression doesn't happen like that, that you forget to take your medicine once and immediately fall into depression. Well, I'm saying that exact thing. So pay attention to your bodies, people. The other side of the double-sided blade that's in your back is not being around people. Some people suffer from 2 or more illnesses like me. I actually suffer from 3. One of them is general anxiety or generalized anxiety. When you're afraid of everything, every fucking thing. I'm kidding, but I'm not. Like, I know when I began my mental illness journey, I saw shadow people. And of course, you see shadow people at night because there's more shadows at nighttime. Don't know what that is? That is when a person or some type of figure is made from shadows and they menacingly stand there and it freaks you out. I should say this is from my experience. They never ran at me like a jump scare, or else I'd be in an institution right now. Personally, I can't be around people for too long. Not only do I have schizoaffective disorder with the generalized anxiety, but I'm also a pet. Not only do I have schizoaffective disorder and generalized anxiety, but I'm also an empath. I can feel energy. Not to spook you or anything. When I walk into a room, if everyone is angered, I will feel that anger. If everyone is having lighter emotions, then I'll feel your lighter emotions. It goes from person to person, not just by the room itself, but per person to person. I also attract people to me, like a magnet. A friend of mine tried to explain to me, but it went over my head. She said something about my aura or something like that. I don't know. Usually I get overwhelmed by people. Even when I'm in stores like Walmart, random people will just walk up to me like they know me. It happens all the time. Every time I go out, someone will walk up to me and start talking to me like, I don't know. But it's strange because I like to blend. I like to be invisible, if you will. Yes, with blue hair and purple eyes, I try to blend. Fight me. One more thing that people don't tell you when you get your gift that keeps on giving is that people will stop wanting to hang out with you after days of no hanging. Like every time you get invited out, you say yes, but come up with some excuse at the last minute. Those people will tire of you and they'll just stop asking. Or better yet, they ask you and you flat out tell them no. Listen to me. If you want to find out if someone is truly your friend, someone that you can depend on, no matter if you have an illness or you just introspective or introverted, if you're introverted or not, flake on them. Then, like, every time they invite you out, you say no. And you will see who matters, who is truly your friend. That whole Marilyn Monroe thing is if they can't appreciate you at your worst, then they don't deserve you at your best, is a mantra that I live by. You want to know how I know? I will tell you. That means it's story time. In the previous episode, I told you guys that I've had this illness since I was 14 or 15. Well, as a teenager, I was a lot more flighty. I would cancel, show up, cancel again, rinse, repeat. At the time, I used to hang out with all guys because girls, I don't know, I just never got along with girls when I was in my teens. But I had this one guy who was my friend, and he had been my friend all through high school, and his name was Terrence. Now, I said I don't give out real names, but fuck that noise, I'm using his real name because fuck him. Anyway, we did everything together. We hung out and talked about all different things. Like, people swore up and down we were a couple. That's how much we hung out with each other. I mean, we were tight up until our early 20s. I even, like, he was a photographer or part-time photographer, and I was his main subject. I would let him take pictures of me. We used to go to the park. He would take pictures. They would come out amazing. You know, it was a good symbiotic relationship. But I don't know. Anyways, he would ask me to hang out with him all the time. And sometimes I would say yes, and then sometimes I would say no. Now, the thing to remember about this whole thing was he knew my diagnosis. He was one of the first people I ever told about my diagnosis, that I'm schizoaffective, that I have this disorder that is taking over my life. And all he had to do was ask me, are you feeling okay? Is your medicine working? Did he do that? No. What he did was say he didn't want to be my friend anymore because we never hung out. Yes, that's what he said. And yes, he did have a crush on me, but I don't know. It was just something weird about, I mean, I tried to, sleep with him or whatever. I don't know. There was just something that stopped me. So, I don't know. It's a weird thing, but it pissed me off and it made me very sad because he was one of my oldest friends. I was tight with his girlfriend too. I mean, he had a girlfriend. We all went to school at the same time. So I was close to all of them. I don't know if he had an open relationship, as they call them now, but she knew me. We were friends. We kicked it together. Now, instead of educating yourself about my illness, you stop hanging out with me. That's shitty behavior. It's shitty. It's shittier than having sex with my best friend in my mother's house that I had to beg her to let you guys sleep there. And yes, that actually happened to me too. I told you that, for one thing, this illness is not fun. It's not something that anyone would want. Yes, I'm creative, but at what cost? For you guys that have tuned in for your loved ones, it hurts when you don't see us. It hurts when you don't believe us, and it hurts when you abandon us. We want to be heard and not pitied. I was hurt by someone I had been friends with for at least 5 or 6 years to turn on me like a cobra. I felt like I did something wrong when I shouldn't have felt that way in the first place. He was the one that bailed on me. But I digress. Well, my friends, this is where I say goodbye. I know you've noticed that I wasn't here last week. I had to switch up to being every other Sunday because I'm trying to put out 3 books, and that's taking up a lot of time and energy. But if you've come back time and time again to help someone you love, which includes yourself, then I know you understand what I'm talking about. I wish I could say goodbye in all the languages, but I don't want to screw up anyone's language at all. And for the people that keep coming back for my 2 cents, as it were, I wanted to wish you the happiest, most wonderful new year that you could possibly have, even if I do come back in 2 weeks. But I appreciate your effort. I appreciate your being here with me as I get out my frustrations on the mic, on the air. Anyways, I will say this. Stand tall, my dears.